The dark side of Sagittarius. Much of the bombasticism and hubris in this election cycle can be attributed to two major transits: Neptune in Pisces, illusion, distortion, and false prophets, and Saturn in Sagittarius, the challenge with the truth. While Sagittarius is correlated with religion and beliefs, we can see it expressed in either a positive or negative way. The good Sagittarian is open-minded, generous, ecumenical, multicultural, and expansive in his or her vision. The inverse bad Sagittarius is dogmatic, apoplectic, overreaching, greedy, bigoted, and judgmental. We can see these extremist qualities expressed quite clearly with many current political operatives, including Steve Bannon, Ann Coulter, and Michael Flynn. Saturn, when present in a sign, may reflect the dark or distorted side of a sign. Saturn is fear or calcification, so henceforth beliefs become rigid and entrenched and are poisoned with hate. Instead of an honest acceptance of universal truths, we experience the misuse and manipulation of language to support egomaniacal goals. In the case of politics and religion, demagogic truth is used as a weapon rather than an embrace. Religious fundamentalism is one dark side of Sagittarius, and when Pluto, the collective shadow, was in Sag 95 to 2008, terrorism increased, or at least a perception and fomenting of fear concerning outsiders. Saturn is now in the same location of Sagittarius as it was on 9/11. Hence, the comparative references to 9/11 and 11/9 actually do have a cosmic basis to them. Globalism or fear of it can also crop up during outer planetary Sagittarian cycles. The Saturn influence can lead to xenophobia and fear of outsiders, especially when it comes to culture and religion. Bigotry, racism, anti-immigration rhetoric flower at these times. Overexpansion and lack of restraint are likewise negative Sagittarian impulses. We experienced the rise of credit card usage and interest rates during the Pluto and Sag cycle of 95 to 2008, and are now seeing the consequences as Saturn comes to collect on the debts. Sagittarius is also correlated to higher education, moral codes, and spiritual perspective. With Saturn in the sign, there can be a mistrust of knowledge, complex thinking, and philosophical or spiritual leanings. Our country supports blind religious allegiance over considered tolerance and spiritual discourse. In America and many parts of the world, organized religion is oftentimes the only form of spiritual education people have. Unfortunately, like politics, it can be dogmatic, absolutist, and filled with hateful condemnation rather than serve as a key to awakening. Inherent in all orthodoxy is the notion of exclusion. Sag can have large appetites or unrestrained ids. Sag is the sign of more, better, more. So here you can have greed on a large scale. In this instance, Mr. Trump's moon in Sag confirms his unquenchable desire for wealth, Steve Bannon food, alcohol, and power addiction, and Steve Mnuchin, mega millionaire and key player in the housing crisis. When we are not operating positively in our sign, we oftentimes default to the opposite polarity, which in this case is Gemini. Half-truths, false equivalencies, sound bites, superficial knowledge of a subject, all of these are the domain of Gemini, which is also correlated to a younger developmental age. Gemini can get stuck in elementary school thinking, and certainly we see that displayed in Donald Trump's simpleton deductions and bullying tactics. Here, Trump is a double signature of lies with his Gemini Sun and Sag Moon, also amplified by his narcissistic and dictatorial Leo rising. Two other ideological cohorts are Newt Gingrich and Rudy Giuliani, both Gemini showing the dark orthodoxy of Sag. It is interesting to note that those people capable of the biggest lies tend to use the words "trust me" more often than anyone else. Lastly, the destructive side of Gemini is mental illness and bipolarity. Need I say more? During Saturn transits, those with a Sag signature can either move into greater roles of power or experience a fall from grace. Right now, it looks like the former is happening, yet there may be some twists in the plotline, as all of the individuals mentioned above, both Sag and Geminis, as well as Virgo Pisces, will be affected in some way, may come into contact with the true universal law of karmic cause and effect. This could have some bearing on their historical legacy, but until the majority of us make internal changes, there will yet be another mark of the devil beast who will follow in their footsteps. While we are seeing the worst and lowest forms of Saturn and Sag with the incoming administration, a conscious being could provide strength and commitment to upholding all the Sag beliefs of improving self and others. More uplifting, honorable Sagittarians include Winston Churchill, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., Abbie Hoffman, and political humorist Jon Stewart. As I've oftentimes mentioned, astrology provides both the disease and the cure. The antidote to Sagittarian dogmatism is careful vetting of the truth, soul-searching, and questioning of one's faiths and beliefs. We must not only seek facts, although that will be refreshing again in this current factory universe, but also the deeper core truth. We must be able to handle paradox and not resort to black and white thinking. But that would require all of us to become more open-minded and accepting, as there would be no attraction to a charismatic leader who only divides. Trump could only get into office because of our collective shadow concerning prejudice, inequality, and privilege. And yes, even good people have a shadow, as we are part of a larger whole, and what we do not own is projected onto others. For those of us not in government, our job is to align with inner light and radiate it out into the world by demonstrating tolerance, acceptance, and the confidence that good will prevail. Saturn in Sag knows the higher truth, that of universal energy, and understands that one cannot cheat fate. Courage and persistence are key. Despite the current crisis, this is about the long-term perspective. There are many powerful spiritual points in the constellation of Sagittarius, including Antares, the spiritual warrior, the great attractor, polarization and compression of time, and the galactic center, origin of consciousness. And as Saturn transits these, we can awaken to our divine power. Anyone with a clear spiritual bent and healed of emotional wounding would not fall prey to loose lies and easy fixes, would not allow their lower self impulses to override their inner dignity and heart-centeredness. Ultimately, the highest goal of Saturn in Sagittarius is spiritual maturity and mastery of ourselves. It's also about envisioning and executing the big plan. What is our future, and how do we get there? In order to mitigate more national tragedies, we must all endeavor to choose the compassion of our intelligence and the wisdom of our hearts over negative glamour and egoic concerns. Our lives and our nation's soul are at stake. But do not fear, as the real truth is on our sides. I'm Med Astrologer Patrice Kane.